Well, everybody out there in YouTube land, including me, is very anxious to see if this thing's going to start. So it's about 40 degrees, colder than I wish it would be, but I'm certainly not going to wait for a spring warm-up before I give this thing a shot. So this morning before I left for work, came out and put the battery charger on again, and it's actually showing full. So this battery is old, and with the low temperature it's definitely going to have a reduced capability to crank the thing. But thinking what we can do to help this along in the starting process is to heat this motor up some. So I've got an idea. So here's my idea. I got my little propane space heater. Hopefully I got enough propane left in my tank. And what I got is resting it on the tire there and pointed in the general area of the engine block here. And let's see if I can't prop this up to angle it down a little bit better, and then we'll put it on higher. But that's the idea I came up with for right now. Could get a little more elaborate. I could even try and maybe get a pipe to go. Still got my air intake off of the air filter off right up here. Maybe I could actually run a pipe from there right into the mouth of this thing and blow hot air right into the intake. At this point, I wanted to make a mention about another YouTube channel that I may have mentioned in the past, but it's worth another look if you guys haven't checked it out. Check out Jeff Bradshaw's page, Elderly Iron. He's actually working on a little project right now. He's got an old diesel truck, and he's got low compression, and to help start it in the wintertime, he's trying to rig up a electric air intake heater using an old coil from an old electric dryer. So no reason why that technology, in theory, that should work perfectly fine. In practice, well, we'll see how he makes out. But I had shown once before, I think, there's an electric heater right here in this tube. This is the cable right here. So the theory is, the way this is supposed to work is you're supposed to hold down a button, and that'll energize that coil. That'll preheat the air going into the combustion chambers to aid in starting. The bad part about that is it's a real current hog, so it really draws down on your battery. So you can't really run it with an old battery like mine. Especially you can't run it while cranking the engine. So I've used that in the past a couple times when it was moderately cold outside, and it seemed to work pretty well. I know that it's not an open element, it's a good element. But I really don't want to be using up all my electricity to run that thing. So that's why I want to preheat with the propane heater here. So let that sit and run a little bit. Went out on me twice. The heater ain't working so great. I think unfortunately I might have gotten a little water in the line, and it froze. I thought I could clear it out, but either that or my tank's almost empty. It is kind of low, but I hate to burn daylight going to get another tank of fuel. Got it on high now, and it just doesn't seem like it's pushing as much heat as it usually does. Heck with it. Just leave it running like that for now and worry about that in a bit. Alright, so what I want to do now is I want to disconnect this this electric pump, this auxiliary pump that was added. Because if everything's working normally, this pump shouldn't be needed. And even before, when I had the tractor running, I would use the pump to kind of like help prime it, get a little bit of pressure in there, that kind of thing. But I never actually kept the pump running while it was on. So when the tractor was running and everything seemed normal, I didn't even run the pump. And that begs the question as to whether or not when this pump is in the system and it's not being energized, does the pump actually impede the flow of fuel any? Now, it's quite possible this might actually be a restriction when it's not running. So, make a long story short, I've decided I'm gonna disconnect this line from the input of the pump, disconnect this line from the output of the pump up to the filter here, and run this line up to here, because that's how it originally was, I believe. You can see this line right here, they didn't even bother cutting it. After they took this line off from up here, they just left it long, so it's got this loop in it. So what we're going to do is take this off and reroute it. Oh, I was working on that line and I heard some huffing and puffing. And now it looks like my regulator must have thawed out, because now it's throwing some serious heat and flame. Well, I'm going to shut this off. So I noticed over here, for some reason, propane's leaking out of this little tiny vent hole on the regulator, which makes me think that that regulator is bad. So I think there's a diaphragm in there, and I think the only time that anything should come out of there is if that diaphragm has a crack or a hole in it. Needless to say, I could smell the propane coming out, so not a good idea. If we were in an enclosed environment, by now I probably would have blown the place up. Now that I got the heater up, you can really hear that thing. That's a pretty bad leak. Yeah, I just bought this regulator hose assembly not that long ago. Unfortunately, though, I don't think I'm going to be able to get it warranted, because I probably ruined it. What happened was I had this in the back of the truck in a bucket and didn't realize that I had forgot it out there, and we had gotten some rain and water had gotten inside here and frozen, and probably when it froze it probably cracked that diaphragm inside there, and well, oh well. Okay, just had to change camcorder batteries, and I just installed the new check valve assembly, and there was still some debate in my mind whether or not this even belonged here, because according to the distributor who sold me the parts to fix the pump, he said my model pump doesn't show one of these being used. Yet there was one on here when I took the whole thing apart. And the purpose of this little check valve is to maintain, from what I understand, I may be incorrect on this, but my understanding is the purpose of this check valve is to maintain an internal pump body pressure. I forgot how many psi, but basically to maintain a certain amount of pressure in there. And I think that might have to do with, that might be more critical with maybe the models that have advanced timing mechanisms on them. I don't know. But since there was one there when we got the tractor, and the tractor was running, we're going to put a new one in. The old one actually still seemed like it was okay. The glass ball wasn't broken. Lots of times the glass balls will be broken out intentionally by a previous mechanic in order to alleviate a problem with the check valve clogging from bits of dampening ring breaking off. But of course we know that the dampening ring in here is the new solid governor weight assembly to replace that, so that that problem can't happen on this model. So now I got that in there, and I've got to get, oh yeah, there's a 90-degree fitting that goes in there, so I got to go grab some more wrenches. Oh yeah, it's snowing again. Oh, headaches. I obviously took the pump out and left this fitting and the 90-degree elbow on there, and then took those off on the bench, because I just went to put the 90-degree elbow in, and guess what? It hits this line, so I can't turn it, I can't screw it in. So that's a pain. And this fitting right here has never been undone by me. I could tell because it's very tight, and it's actually, the corners are trying to round off on this rather than it turn. So I don't want to really force that. Oh, what a pain in the ass. Oh, excuse my language. I popped this end out.
which was able to unscrew and very gingerly move this up and have just enough room to get this in, which is nice. Okay, I've got my fittings in. I've got them all hooked back up. Hopefully these are going to be tight enough because I can't find my 3/8 inch tubing wrench. That's the it's kind of like almost an open end wrench with a slot on it that slides over this and gives you a really good grip on those nuts. So anyways, I think I've got everything ready to go here. So of course I'm gonna get my cover back on, but for the moment I think what I'm gonna do is I've already turned on the fuel at the bottom of the tank. With gravity flow alone, we know that's not going to do anything for us. So I think what we'll do is we'll open up this bleed valve on the top of the filter here and see if our primer does anything. Oh, something, some movement. I hear air. Primer's getting easier to, it's starting to feel differently. I think fuel's actually getting into it. Oh, definitely. Oh, there we go. All right. Probably want to maybe do a couple more pumps there, but I got a couple of things I want to do first. I want to get a pan under here so I don't have any extra fuel going all over the ground, and get some nitrile gloves on.